Good evening. Let me ask you something. Have you ever looked at someone and thought, how do they do it? How do they walk into a room and instantly radiate certainty? How do they stay grounded when everything is falling apart? They weren't born with it. They built it from the inside out. You see, success isn't just about skill. It's not just talent, hard work, or luck. It starts in the one place most people never think to look, the mind. If you can transform your mindset, you can transform your entire life. So tonight I want to share 10 powerful ways to do just that, to unlock your mind and through it, unlock your success. Most people believe that failure is a result of trying and falling short. But the truth is, more often than not, we don't fail because we try too hard. We fail because we never truly try. We choose comfort. We choose predictability. We choose routines that keep us feeling safe but stagnant. The human mind is wired for safety, and comfort becomes a tempting illusion. One that whispers, "You're fine right here. Don't push. Don't risk. Don't change." But comfort is not the same as happiness, and it's certainly not the same as growth. Growth demands discomfort. It asks us to step into unfamiliar territory, to risk being bad at something, to stretch further than we've ever stretched before, and that's terrifying. But it's also where the magic begins. The people who grow the most, who evolve, who lead, who succeed, are not the ones who avoid discomfort. They are the ones who choose it. They walk straight into it because they know that struggle isn't the enemy, it's the evidence that you're on the edge of transformation. Research from psychologist Carol Dweck introduced the idea of a growth mindset versus a fixed mindset. People with a fixed mindset believe their intelligence, talent, and potential are set in stone. But those with a growth mindset believe they can get better, they can develop, they can improve. And that belief alone changes everything. In her studies, the students who adopted a growth mindset didn't just perform better, they were more resilient, more engaged, and more motivated. The simple act of believing they could grow made them more likely to succeed. There's a powerful story about Sarah Blakely, the founder of Spanx, who became the youngest self-made female billionaire in America. But that's not where the real story lies. What's truly remarkable is how she was raised. Her father would sit down with her and ask, "What did you fail at today?" Not to criticize, not to shame, but to normalize it. To celebrate the effort, not just the outcome. To teach her that failure was not something to avoid, but something to embrace, because failure meant she had tried something beyond her reach. It meant she was stretching. It meant she was growing. That simple shift, redefining failure from something to fear into something to seek, is where freedom begins. Imagine what your life could look like if you stopped avoiding the discomfort of trying something new. If you stopped telling yourself you're too late, too old, too inexperienced, too whatever. What would happen if you leaned into the challenge, embraced the fear, and said yes to growth? Comfort will never demand more from you, but it will also never give you more. It will never ask you to become better, and therefore it will never reward you with what you're capable of achieving. Comfort is seductive, but growth is what changes everything. The choice between them isn't always easy, but it is always yours. There comes a point in every journey where things get hard. The hours are long, the results are slow, the sacrifices start to weigh heavier than the rewards. And in that moment, most people quit, not because they're weak, not because they're incapable, but because they don't remember why they started in the first place. Purpose is what carries you through when motivation fades. Without it, burnout creeps in. With it, you become unstoppable. When you have a clear and meaningful reason behind what you do, You no longer measure your effort by how hard it is, you measure it by how much it matters. Think of the janitor at NASA in the 1960s. He wasn't a rocket scientist, he wasn't designing spacecraft, but when asked what his role was, he didn't say, "I clean floors." He said, "I'm helping put a man on the moon." That man wasn't just working a job, he was serving a mission. And when people work for a mission, even the most ordinary tasks become extraordinary. That's the power of purpose. It transforms labor into legacy. Ask yourself, why do you do what you do? And I don't mean the surface level answer. I mean the deeper reason, the one that moves you, that scares you, that reminds you you're alive. Is it your family? Is it the difference you want to make? Is it the version of yourself you know you're capable of becoming? Because when you define that purpose, when you connect with it on a soul deep level, you stop chasing validation, you stop needing approval, you start moving from the inside out. It's not always easy to find your why, but it's always worth the search. Start with your story. Look at the moments that shaped you, the pain, the setbacks, the victories. Purpose often hides in your past disguised as adversity. The things that hurt you might be the very things you were meant to heal in others. The obstacles you faced could become the message that guides someone else. That's not just work, that's calling. Purpose creates clarity. When you know why you're doing something, the how becomes clearer. The obstacles shrink. The excuses fade. You'll still face challenges, but they won't stop you because you're no longer just working. You're building something that matters. You're no longer just surviving, you're serving. And that changes everything. When you operate from purpose, people notice. You inspire without trying. You lead without needing the title. You light a fire in others just by walking in your truth. And in a world starving for meaning, nothing is more magnetic than someone who knows exactly why they're here and what they're here to do. So don't just ask what you want to achieve. Ask what you're willing to fight for. Ask what you believe in so deeply that you're willing to face failure, fatigue, and fear to make it real. That's where your power lives. That's where your purpose begins. You spend every second of your life with one person, yourself. No voice will ever speak to you more than your own. And what you say to yourself, whether you realize it or not, becomes the foundation of everything you do, everything you attempt, and everything you believe is possible. The way you speak to yourself either builds you or breaks you. It either fuels your future or feeds your fears. The most dangerous lies we believe aren't the ones others tell us. They're the ones we repeat to ourselves quietly, day after day. We don't question them because they sound familiar. I'm not good enough. I always mess things up. I'll never get it right. These aren't just harmless thoughts. They are seeds we plant in the soil of our mind, and they grow into limitations that choke our potential. If you told a child every day that they're stupid, do you think they'd grow up confident? Of course not. But how many of us do that to ourselves without even noticing? There's a name for this process. Psychologists call it cognitive restructuring. It's the practice of noticing negative self-talk and replacing it with something more honest, more empowering, and more useful. Because most of the time, the voice in your head isn't telling you the truth. It's telling you a fear. And the beautiful thing is, you don't have to believe everything you think. Thoughts are not fact, but they are powerful, which is why you must choose them carefully. Imagine what could change if you stopped saying, "I can't do this," and started saying, "I'm learning how to do this." One shuts the door, the other cracks it open. Or take the thought, I'm a failure. It feels final, permanent, like a verdict. But what if you reframed it as this is feedback? Suddenly, that same experience becomes a lesson, not a label. You're no longer the problem. You're part of the process. Think about Muhammad Ali. Long before the world agreed, he said, I am the greatest. He said it with conviction, with rhythm, with certainty. He wasn't bragging. He was building belief. He repeated it until it became part of him. And once he believed it, the rest of the world didn't stand a chance. That's the power of self-talk. It doesn't just describe who you are, it shapes who you become. You won't always feel confident. You won't always have external validation, but you will always have your voice. And if you learn to make it your ally instead of your enemy, you gain an advantage no one can take from you. Confidence isn't about walking into a room and thinking you're better than everyone. It's about walking in and no longer comparing at all, because you've learned to trust the voice inside, the one that says, I'm capable, I'm worthy, I'm still growing. And that belief, that's where real transformation begins. Life is unpredictable. It doesn't ask for your permission before it disrupts your plans. One moment you're on track, everything is flowing, and the next, the ground disappears beneath your feet. You lose the job, the relationship ends, the deal falls through. It hurts, and when it does, the question isn't, why me? The real question is, now what? Because pain is inevitable. Struggle is part of the deal. But suffering is often a result of how we respond. Mental resilience is not about pretending you're okay when you're not. It's not about being numb or emotionless. It's about staying grounded when life shakes you. It's about choosing every single day to keep moving forward even when your heart is heavy and your path is unclear. It's standing up not because it's easy, but because the alternative, staying down, is simply not who you are. Resilience is built, not born. It's trained in the fire of experience. It comes from choosing to learn rather than retreat. Think of Navy SEALs. These are some of the most elite, disciplined people in the world. But even they don't train to eliminate fear. They train to move through it. In the middle of chaos, they slow their breathing, calm their minds, and focus on the next right move. Not the next 10 moves, just the next one. That's how resilience works. One decision, one step, one breath at a time. You don't need to be fearless to be strong. You don't need to feel brave to act with courage. Most of the people you admire, leaders, athletes, visionaries, they didn't avoid failure. They walked straight through it. What set them apart wasn't that they never broke, it was that they refused to stay broken. They looked at adversity and said, "You will not define me." Sometimes resilience looks heroic, but often it's quiet. It's getting out of bed when everything in you wants to stay under the covers. It's choosing not to numb yourself when life gets overwhelming. It's reaching out for help when silence feels safer. It's doing the hard thing again and again because you know what's on the other side is worth it. There's a reason diamonds are made under pressure. Strength is forged in resistance. You don't grow stronger by avoiding pain. You grow by facing it, learning from it, and coming back better, not bitter, better. We live in a world that loves speed and highlights, but real strength, it's found in the unglamorous moments, in persistence, in patience, in getting back up after life knocks the wind out of you. And if you've ever felt like quitting, but chose to keep going, even with tears in your eyes, even with no applause, that's resilience. That's the part of you no one can take away. And that's what will carry you through, not just to survive life, but to rise from it. There's a common myth we tell ourselves about burnout, that we get exhausted because we're working too hard. We blame the workload, the never-ending to-do lists, and the constant demands. But the truth is, burnout doesn't come from doing too much. It comes from doing too little of what fills you with purpose, what lights you up from the inside. We often get lost in the busyness of life, drowning in tasks that don't really matter, and that's when the exhaustion sets in. It's not the work that's draining us, it's the lack of alignment between our actions and our true desires. Imagine a ship sailing in the open sea. If it's headed in the right direction, it moves with ease. But if it's directionless, if it's floating without purpose, the journey becomes a struggle. You tire faster, you become disoriented, you lose sight of the horizon. But when you have a clear vision, a destination that pulls you forward, the journey is no longer just about the grind. It becomes about fulfillment. It becomes about getting closer to the person you're meant to be. That's the power of vision. Vision isn't a vague wish. It's a vivid picture of your future that you can see, feel, and almost touch. It's more than just the end goal. It's about how that goal aligns with who you are and who you want to become. Olympians know this better than anyone. They don't just train their bodies, they train their minds to see the gold. They visualize crossing the finish line, holding the trophy, feeling the weight of the medal around their neck, and that vision becomes their fuel. They can't wait to step into that future because it already feels real to them. Creating a vision for your life isn't just about setting a goal. It's about connecting with a deeper purpose. It's about asking yourself not just where you want to be, but who you want to be when you get there. What kind of person will you have to become to achieve that? What qualities will you need to embody? Because a vision isn't just about the destination. It's about the transformation along the way. Write it down. Paint the picture. Describe it in detail. Close your eyes and imagine that version of yourself. The confident, empowered, fulfilled person who's already living the life you desire. Picture how you'll feel, what you'll do, who you'll be with. Write it all down because something powerful happens when we commit our vision to paper. It becomes tangible, it becomes real. And as you read those words, something inside you will shift. You'll feel a pull. You'll feel that desire to move closer to that version of yourself. When you create a vision that is so clear, so magnetic, it will begin to shape your daily decisions. It will guide your actions. It will help you say no to things that don't serve you and yes to things that align with your purpose. You won't waste energy on distractions because you'll have a North Star guiding you every step of the way. And when the challenges come, and they will, you'll be able to push through, not because it's easy, but because you know exactly why you're doing it. Your vision will be the force that keeps you going when everything else seems impossible. It will be the light that pulls you forward, even on the darkest days. It's easy to get caught up in the hustle, the race to achieve, to acquire, to keep up with everyone else. We get so focused on what we don't have, what we haven't achieved, what's missing from our lives, that we lose sight of the abundance already around us. But there's something incredibly powerful, something life-changing that happens when we shift our focus. That something is gratitude. It may sound simple, even cliche, but the truth is science backs it. Gratitude is not just a nice idea. It's a tool that can literally rewire your brain. When you practice gratitude, something profound happens in your brain. It activates the release of dopamine, the feel-good neurotransmitter that boosts your mood and enhances motivation. But it doesn't stop there. Gratitude also stimulates the production of serotonin, the chemical responsible for regulating your mood and promoting feelings of well-being. It reduces the stress hormone cortisol, which lowers anxiety and helps you feel more centered. And here's the kicker. It even improves your sleep. Imagine a simple daily practice that doesn't just improve your mental state, but your physical health too. Every morning, just take 5 minutes. Write down 3 things you're thankful for. It doesn't matter how big or small they are. It could be something as simple as a warm cup of coffee, a conversation with a friend, or the opportunity to start another day. The point is to look for the good in your life and consciously acknowledge it. It doesn't matter where you are in life or what challenges you're facing, there is always something to be thankful for. That's the power of gratitude. It forces you to stop looking at what you lack and start seeing what you already have. It pulls you out of a mindset of scarcity where you constantly feel like you're missing something and shifts you into a state of possibility. Gratitude isn't about ignoring problems or pretending everything is perfect. It's not about being passive or complacent. In fact, it's the opposite. It's about being aware of what you have and using that awareness as fuel for your journey. When you can find gratitude in the small things, in the everyday moments, you start to realize that you already have the tools to succeed. You already have the strength, the relationships, and the opportunities you need to move forward. That's why Surrender 3 points out that gratitude isn't just a way to feel better. It's a powerful tool that empowers you to act. Think about it for a moment. If you're constantly focusing on what's missing, on what's not going right, you're going to feel drained, you're going to feel stuck. But when you choose to focus on what's already working for you, when you recognize the abundance in your life, you unlock a new level of energy. You begin to see possibilities where you once saw roadblocks. You stop feeling like you're running on empty and start feeling like you're running on purpose. Gratitude shifts your state. It opens your mind to opportunities, it strengthens your resilience, and it helps you stay grounded in the face of adversity. When you practice gratitude relentlessly, you change not just your perspective, but your reality. Imagine being a child again, sitting in a room with a marshmallow in front of you. The choice is simple. Eat it now and enjoy instant pleasure, or wait. Wait for something even better, a second marshmallow, a reward delayed. It's a test of patience, of self-control, of discipline. In 1972, a study was done where children were offered this exact choice. They were given one marshmallow with the promise that if they could wait just a little while, they'd receive two. Some ate it right away. Others, with varying degrees of squirming and temptation, held off. Decades later, researchers checked in on these kids to see how they turned out, and the results were astonishing. The children who waited, the ones who practiced delayed gratification, tended to have better grades, healthier relationships, and higher incomes. The act of resisting instant pleasure had lasting effect. It wasn't just about marshmallows. It was about the ability to see beyond the immediate moment, to hold out for something greater, something more fulfilling. And that ability, that simple act of waiting, became a powerful predictor of long-term success. Here's the thing we often overlook. Success is rarely about instant results. It's about holding on long enough to get what you truly deserve. It's about having the discipline to stay focused, to keep working, even when the reward feels far away. Because the truth is, success isn't the person who grabs everything they want right now. The person who grabs everything right now may feel good for a moment, but they'll miss out on the deeper, more meaningful rewards that come with time, patience, and effort. The ones who wait, who understand the power of delayed gratification, are the ones who get the life-changing results. You've probably heard people say things like, "I want to live in the moment," or "Why wait when you can have it now?" The appeal of instant gratification is powerful. It feels good, it's easy, and it's quick. But it's also fleeting. The satisfaction you get from immediate pleasure is short-lived, and it often comes at the expense of something greater. Real success isn't about chasing every shiny object that crosses your path. It's about knowing that true rewards come to those who wait. It's about building discipline today so that tomorrow you'll have the freedom to live on your own terms. Think about the person who's saving for their future, investing time, money, and energy with the knowledge that down the road they'll be able to live comfortably, or the athlete who sacrifices years of practice and training for the chance to win a gold medal, or the entrepreneur who spends countless hours building a business that will eventually change lives. They could all have taken the shortcut, grabbed the easy reward, but instead they chose the harder path, knowing that the long-term payoff would be worth every ounce of effort. Discipline today isn't just about denying yourself. It's about choosing your future self over your present impulses. It's about realizing that the true freedom, the freedom to live your life on your terms, to be proud of who you are and what you've accomplished, comes not from satisfying every desire as it arises, but from having the strength to wait, to invest, to build. It's not about the marshmallow in front of you. It's about the life you're building by choosing to wait for something even better. And that is the secret to success. There's a truth that many of us don't fully grasp until later in life. We become the average of the 5 people we spend the most time with. Think about that for a moment. The people around you, their mindset, their attitude, their beliefs, they shape who you are. Whether you realize it or not, they influence the way you think, the way you act, and even the way you see your future. And yet, so many of us fall into the trap of staying close to people who drain us, who bring us down, who make us feel small. The real question is, are the people in your life driving you forward, or are they holding you back? When you spend time with people who only see the limitations, who only focus on what's wrong, who constantly tell you why things won't work, it's easy to start believing that your dreams are too big or too far out of reach. You begin to shrink your ambitions to fit within their comfort zones, and before long you forget that you were meant for more. But there's another way. Imagine surrounding yourself with people who make you feel like your dreams are not only possible, but normal. People who push you to think bigger, act bolder, and challenge yourself to be better every single day. People who inspire you, who encourage you to take risks, who celebrate your progress no matter how small. People who refuse to let you settle for less than you're capable of, because when you're in the right room, surrounded by people who believe in the impossible, suddenly the impossible starts to feel inevitable. Think about the way eagles soar high in the sky. They don't flock with pigeons. Eagles surround themselves with other eagles, those who share their vision, their focus, their ambition. They don't waste time with those who are content to sit on the ground, pecking at crumbs. Instead, they find those who are determined to rise, who are hungry for greatness, and they fly together. This doesn't just apply to the people you physically spend time with. It also applies to the voices you let into your life. The podcasts, the books, the content you consume, they all shape your mindset. Are you filling your mind with voices of possibility, of encouragement, of expansion? Or are you letting negativity, fear, and small thinking take root in your mind? The people you surround yourself with, both in person and through what you choose to consume, should fuel your growth, not limit it. It's easy to overlook the impact that your environment has on you. But the truth is, your surroundings are everything. You can't grow in a place that tells you to stay small. And you can't soar when you're surrounded by people who are content to stay grounded. So ask yourself, are the people around you driving you to be your best self? Are they making you believe that anything is possible? Or are they limiting your vision, keeping you stuck in a small box of what's comfortable? Surround yourself with mindset multipliers, people who make you think bigger, act bolder, and stretch further. Find those who will challenge you to step into your greatness, who will remind you of your potential when you forget. Because when you find the right people, your dreams will no longer feel like distant possibilities. They'll feel like the next natural step in your journey. And that's when real transformation begins. Here's something that might surprise you. No one ever feels truly ready, not at first. There's no magical moment when everything aligns perfectly and you suddenly feel confident, prepared, or equipped. We often sit and wait for that moment, believing that once we feel ready, then we'll take action. But the truth is, it's not about waiting for readiness. It's about creating readiness through action. The most successful people in the world didn't wait for confidence to arrive. They took the first step and built confidence along the way. Take a moment to think about the Wright brothers. When they set out to create the first airplane, they didn't have the formal education or the technical expertise that we associate with groundbreaking achievements today. They didn't have degrees in aeronautics, nor did they have access to the resources that many other inventors of their time did. What they did have was a bicycle shop and an unshakable belief that they could change the world. They had a vision, and they took action on it, long before they felt ready. In fact, their journey wasn't one of smooth progress. It was filled with failure, trial and error, and moments of doubt. But they kept moving forward even when there was no guarantee of success. They didn't wait until they felt prepared to fly. They acted first and figured it out as they went. That's the lesson here. Courage doesn't come before the leap. It comes after. You don't need to wait for the perfect moment to start, because that moment rarely comes. Waiting only prolongs the fear, the uncertainty, and the doubt. It keeps you trapped in a cycle of one day I'll be ready that never arrives. But action pushes you forward. Action builds momentum. Action teaches you what works and what doesn't. When you take that first step, when you make that call, when you launch that project, something incredible happens. You don't just move closer to your goal, you move closer to the person you need to become to achieve it. Think about it. Every time you've waited until you felt ready, how often has that moment ever come? How often has that moment of total preparedness ever actually arrived? Rarely, if ever. But when you decide to act anyway, even without all the answers, the sense of accomplishment, of pushing through the fear, gives you the confidence you thought you lacked. And it's that confidence that drives you to keep going. The world's most successful people didn't wait for everything to be perfect. They started with what they had and trusted that they could figure the rest out along the way. Steve Jobs didn't wait to launch Apple until he had all the answers. He started with a garage and a vision. Oprah didn't wait for her television career to take off until she felt confident enough to lead. She took risks, stumbled, and kept going. The people who make an impact, who change industries, who transform lives, they don't wait for the perfect moment. They create that moment by taking action before they feel ready. So don't wait for confidence. Don't wait for the stars to align or for the perfect set of circumstances. Start now. Make the call, write the email, launch the project. And as you take that first step, you'll find the courage to take the next one and the one after that. The readiness will come through action, because action is what creates progress. It's what fuels the belief that you can do more than you ever thought possible. And when you look back, you'll realize that it wasn't the waiting that brought success, it was the doing. This is the final piece, the one that ties everything together, the one that makes all the other steps worth it. It's the one that not only transforms you, but the world around you. Real transformation doesn't happen when you chase success for the sake of success. It happens when you start chasing significance. When your purpose shifts from seeking personal gain to serving something bigger than yourself. That's when you unlock the deepest, most fulfilling kind of success. Think about the people who have truly made an impact. The greatest leaders, the happiest people. They don't measure their lives by how many accolades they've collected or how much money they've earned. They measure their lives by the difference they've made in others. They don't spend their time chasing applause. They spend their time lifting others up. They invest in people, in communities, in movements. They build something that outlives them. They create a legacy. Why is this so powerful? Because success alone is fleeting. You can win today, but there's no guarantee that tomorrow will feel as fulfilling. We've all seen people who've achieved incredible wealth or fame only to find themselves empty, unfulfilled, lost. Why? Because success, when it's solely focused on yourself, runs out of meaning. It's like a tank of gas. You can fill it up, but eventually it'll run dry. But when you tie your success to something bigger than you, when you dedicate your energy to serving others, that's when you never run out of fuel. It becomes a source of endless inspiration and motivation. Serving something bigger than yourself gives you a purpose that goes beyond personal gain. It's not just about what you can take from the world, it's about what you can give. Who will benefit from your transformation? Whose life will be better because you chose to show up and do the work? When you start thinking beyond yourself, when you align your success with the success of others, something magical happens. The journey becomes less about me and more about we. And when the focus shifts to helping others achieve their dreams, you'll find that your own dreams start to take shape in ways you never imagined. Consider the leaders who have made lasting change. Nelson Mandela, for example, wasn't concerned with personal success. His fight wasn't for recognition. It was for justice, for freedom, for his people. He served something greater than himself, and in doing so, he became one of the most impactful figures in history. The same can be said for people like Mother Teresa, Martin Luther King Jr., and countless others. They didn't build empires for themselves. They built movements that changed the world, and in the process, they found the most profound kind of fulfillment. When you tie your success to the well-being of others, when you dedicate your life to serving a purpose that's larger than you, your energy doesn't run dry. You're fueled by the stories of the people you've helped, the impact you've made, and the legacy you're building. And that's where true transformation happens. So ask yourself today, who will benefit from your transformation? Because when your success is connected to someone else's story, you'll never run out of reasons to keep going. You are not stuck. You are not broken. I know it may feel like it sometimes, but deep down, you're not where you think you are. You are not trapped in a place of no return. You're simply one decision away from a new direction, from a new beginning. Transformation isn't a grand overnight event. It's a process, an evolution that happens not in a flash, but through consistent daily commitment. You have the power within you to change your life. The question is, are you willing to tap into it? Imagine for a moment what it would look like to truly commit to change, to not just sit with the idea of transformation, but to step forward, to take action. It's as simple as making a choice. It's about deciding to grow, deciding to stretch beyond your current limitations, and deciding to embrace your potential. There are 10 powerful ways to transform your mind and unlock success. 10 shifts you can make today. 10 new ways to see your life, your possibilities, your future. 10 actions that will push you toward the life you are meant to live. But here's the truth. It won't happen if you don't choose it. It won't happen if you wait for the perfect moment or hope for the right time. It happens when you decide right now to begin the process of change. You don't need to have it all figured out today. You don't need to know every step of the journey. All you need is the commitment to move forward, even if it's just one small step at a time. Change your mindset. Change your story. When you decide to see the world differently, when you start telling yourself a new story about who you are and what you can accomplish, that's when everything shifts. Your future is no longer determined by your past. It's created by the actions you take today. So many of us wait for life to give us the answers, for circumstances to change, for someone else to make the first move. But the truth is, the power to change your life has always been inside of you. It's been there all along, waiting for you to recognize it. You are the creator of your own reality. You are the author of your own story. And the moment you decide to take responsibility for that story, to take control of where you are headed, is the moment you unlock the future you've always dreamed of. It's easy to feel overwhelmed by the enormity of transformation. It's easy to think that it's too late or too hard. But the reality is, it doesn't take a major shift in one day. It takes a small, deliberate decision to move in the right direction. It takes one decision to start your journey, and then another and another, each one pushing you forward. The power is already within you, the potential, the strength, the resilience. It's all there, just waiting for you to tap into it. So I'll leave you with one question. What will you do with it? What will you do with the power you already possess? Will you step into the life you were meant to lead? Or will you continue to sit on the sidelines waiting for something to change? The choice is yours. Now go make it.